And variety is nice when you're playing, a bunch of these matches. But I'm gonna be honest. I still look at this as the pooping game.
The pooping.
It's the pooping game. It's that like 5 minutes that it takes to play a match. Yeah, you know what? You laugh, but that's untapped market potential right there.
I never called it playing a match. I always lose.
I gotta go play a match. I'll be right back.
Not to put pressure on you guys, I'm just gonna start recording.
No worries.
So, Mario, you had some questions on some of the talking points. So we have the goals, location, time of day, mood, ambient life, and potential interactive elements. But then you had some talking points before that you wanted to kick off with.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So, like, how
Oh,
far
yeah,
into the future? What kinds of cars do people drive? Like, what's the vibe of the map, right?
Right, or maybe even just the world. Like just because we talked about New Phoenix, California's underwater. It's a quote unquote cyberpunk world where technologies, the rampant proliferation of technology, human augmentation, all those aspects, the lawlessness, the megacores, just that kind of, and again, for our take, it's more of a spoof or parody. It's more of a lighthearted take on it. It's a mobile game, so these are the kind of things that we're not going to really get too deep into. We don't want to get too heavy with these kinds of things, so it's more just the treatment and the representation of these things. So we have a little bit more fun with those things. So what it is, what it isn't. It's not like overt transgression and hedonism and all those kinds of darker themes that are usually associated with cyberpunk. But we do have the lawlessness and the cybernetics aspect of it.
So it's really it's more like dystopian sci-fi future, not cyberpunk. There's a distinct lack of punk.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. That punk aspect could come up in some of the skins we make, in the follow-up skins. That could get a little more. But listen,
That's not really that doesn't really make it a theme of the game itself, though.
What's the for me, what's the difference between with and without the punk from an aesthetic standpoint?
What's the difference between rock and punk?
It's got a jovial vibe to it.
The head. I'm just from a when I I guess it's so, for me it sounds so similar. I just don't know what the difference is.
Yeah. I think, Sean, tell me if you agree with this, but it's like that low life aspect. So the high tech low life, aspect usually in cyberpunk. I mean, it can get dark and there's really not esoteric, but existential questions about life and human augmentation and where is the line between human and machine, and it gets into those kinds of deep things. And we're not going to get too heavy into that. We're more just borrowing that setting, that time, that place, and it's more of a kind of like the Futurama of cyberpunk. But some people will say Futurama is cyberpunk, some people say it's not. It depends how pure we want to be about it. For me, at the end of the day, it's not like we're going to say, hey, cyberpunk, you're getting this game because it's cyberpunk. You know what I mean? It's like some people will think it looks like cyberpunk, some people make that association, others won't. They'll just see the cool characters and it's got a sci-fi vibe to it. It's obviously got the augmentations and things. So
it seems like that's like you want to have an expectation and stick to it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a dystopian world setting in a sci-fi superhero kind of game. That's great. It doesn't have to be cyberpunk. You know,
For
it's
me, the punk aspect is more grungy and like, it's the lower classes kind of trying to rise up with the technology that they have. Like it's just a dirtier aesthetic, I think. For me, I don't know what you guys read into cyberpunk.
it's a punk aesthetic. Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
like,
Yep.
it's, it's hard. It's driving. It's not it's not heroic. It's very anti-hero. And I think that's okay to not go that route. Like, I would rather say, hey, we're a dystopian sci-fi kind of game,
Yeah.
than say, hey, we're cyberpunk, and not deliver on that expectation.
Yeah, and if you just say dystopian, and if people infer cyberpunk, go right ahead. If it's not cyberpunk enough, and for them it's just sci-fi fantasy, that's fine too.
But there can be elements within it that are cyberpunk. It just we
There
don't
are.
have to have our high level cyberpunk, right?
Right.
I just think as we're branding it, like, when we're talking about it, we've softened out all those hard edges. So let's stop trying to brand it as something that it no longer really is.
It's not. Yeah. What's your take on that, Steven?
I
On the
think
branding?
I think it's a starting point. As we kind of explored the cyberpunk genre, and some of these characters, a lot of them have dipped into like fantasy and kind of these really cool abilities that they have, and talking about all the different types of skin variants and all that. I think it opened our game a lot more as far as thematically and visual aesthetics and ID. But I look at the cyber or dystopian future as the starting point. Like that's our beginning setting. Can it evolve into different things? Maybe we have very, very heavy cyberpunk vibes. Absolutely. But I think it's cool to start exploring and thinking about the ideas that really open up different types of genres and visual aesthetics to be into our game. And I think that's going to be exciting for players, to be honest. At the end of the day, it's like, oh, I get to have this cyborg sumo arm, and maybe we change that to him having, I don't know, a inflatable arm, like a pool toy. I don't know. But I think that's kind of the fun of it, of exploring those kind of ideas.
I think that's a good place to get to, with growth. But we're talking day one here. This is looking at a game that is relatively unknown. Only a handful of people have played it. As we're reaching out, if we have that kind of feel straight out of the gate, if we don't have some sort of cohesion, some sort of unification, you end up with this game doesn't know what it is kind of feeling. And I know I've played those. Sure you guys have too. If it's not cohesive, it feels off. And it's okay that it can get there over time. In like League of Legends, plays into that with fan service and kind of gets into these, crazy skins that don't really fit that core theme, but it gets there. It got there years down the road. For right now, making sure that we stick to and we deliver on whatever the promise is, that's sticking with our why.
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day, dystopian sci-fi fantasy is a good descriptor for the thing. Without saying cyberpunk, which could set up some expectations for what you expect there to be in cyberpunk and let some folks down. That's not cyberpunk. I think you call that cyberpunk. Yeah. So before we we jump into what the arena is, maybe we can talk more about the world, like what kind of cars they drive, what kind of like high level rules about the world that could inform what we do with the backdrop, you know, because we've never really spent too much time talking about that part of the fiction. So we have characters. Our lead characters are, you know, a sumo with a big rocket fist, a kill bot, or like an AI assistant robot that you know, can fire a swarm of nanobots in a cyclone and rip people apart. We have a DJ that carries not a VR, but a kind of virtual mixer on his back that can fire, you know, discs of healing music and you know, heal people with music and hurt people with sonic waves, if you will. And then we have, with the other extreme, we have like a goth plague doctor that poisons people with you know, gamma ray potions and things like that. You know what I mean? So we have these pretty far out characters in this world. So we're pretty far into the future. So we I don't think we would expect characters like this that live in this world to have, like, you know, police cars that roll in on, you know, traditional tires. It's almost like, okay, well, if these characters are advanced at that point, what other kinds of, how far has transportation moved? How far has, you know, just living quarters moved? How far has all these other things moved? You know what I mean? Like, so when we talk about, like, if we were going to set this on a, you know, a rain-soaked city street in the Syndicate district, you know, well, what kind of props, what kind of environment would that look like where these characters make sense to live in, you know? Any initial thoughts, any reactions?
My first thought is ramen shop. Anyone
A
else?
ramen shop. Right, yeah.
I think it depends how his, like, what's the overlying theme? Is the city in chaos? Is it, you know, is it war torn, or is it just this peaceful, like downtown? No, I don't know. You know, like lit up, ads everywhere, and, you know, somewhat peaceful. Like, what's that feeling of? Is it danger, or is it, like, is it dirty? What, you know, all those adjectives, like, what it.
Yeah, I think it's unease. I think it's confusion. I think it's, yeah, you know, it's like with the proliferation of that technology everywhere, it's like, even today, you know what I mean? If we were to take ourselves now and then scale us into the future, just the distraction from all the media around us. Like, imagine it's, you know, off the hook in the future, you know. So what kind of individual is that? I remember we were joking about two people standing face to face, and both of them with their visors, you know, and their VR helmets, you know, talking to each other. It's like, you know, just silly things like that you know, just that exaggeration. Like the noodle shop, if we, you know, do a noodle shop, it'd be funny. It'd be fun to play with those tropes and do spoofs on them. You know, the origami with little, you know,
Right.
the Blade Runner origami. You know, or the noodle shop. Like, just have fun with those things. But yeah, how do we take some of those tropes and then spin them on their head? So, like, you know, that classic, give the audience what they want, not how they expect it. You know, so, like, how do we flip that noodle shop idea and, yeah, noodle dispenser. I know, something stupid like that, but you know, that idea.
Yeah, I like the noodle shop. So, you know, I'm writing my blog, so it's coming out in a couple days.
We'll look
but
for it. Yeah.
Yeah, my two favorite PvP games is Street Fighter 2 and Clash Royale. So, you know, with Street Fighter 2, I like the way, you know, it's like, you know, each individual person has their home court and it's designed that way, right? So, you know, I think for E Honda, it was like at a Japanese bath shop. So that backdrop also helps to kind of tell the character story. So I think from a design standpoint, we could do it individually, which will also help. Let's say the DJ, it's at a rave and He's the guy that everybody calls on when someone's so drugged up. He comes and resuscitates them. I don't know with his DJ hits, but stuff like that. And then my other favorite PvP is Clash, but Clash they do it on more of an arena style. And so I guess my question is, would we first want to determine we'd rather want something that's more like an arena backdrop that's more all-encompassing, or do we want to be specific in terms of the storytelling so that the narrative is already kind of written on the environment?
For me, I love that idea of one per hero. I think we can explore both avenues because, having the rave shop for the DJ, the
Ramen shop.
Ramen shop for the sumo. Yeah, I think that's really cool. From a more global perspective, not individual character, we could do an arena theme per faction. So the Mega Core, the Syndicates, and the Resistance. So we could have one that's more class based, and then one or faction based, and then one that's per hero. And then at the end of the day, we can look at whichever one resonates with us most and go with that one. So I'd love the idea of doing one that's themed more for the individual characters. That's cool, like the Street Fighter style.
Yeah.
And as far as which how we prioritize them and what we do for soft launch or alpha, that's something we'll decide afterwards. Anybody else? Nate?
I kind of go back to what we had chatted about a while back about on these. But specifics, I don't know. I mean, I just see, battles in the streets, battles in maybe places of worship, or not, not religious necessarily, but maybe like gang hideouts, churches, abandoned buildings. Just trying to think somewhat grungy, yeah.
Made me think of Highlander with the church, place of worship. Yeah, for maybe we could start with high level the faction, where we would expect what does a mega corporation look like in this world? What does their headquarters look like? Talked about some penthouses, floating penthouses, skyscrapers with their own kind of vegetation, and it's opulent, it's the giga rich,
I like the idea of some kind of sterile environment that has clearly been broken into by the Resistance. So it's kind of messed up, but maybe it was a beautiful office space or some kind of fancy gated community. And now there's some cars that are, future cars that are, crashed and things like that.
I love that because it tells a story too. It's not just a spot. It's a spot that okay, something happened here. You try to unravel what happened there. It gives it character. That's really cool.
I don't know if this. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I wanted to talk on the Resistance, and an idea I had for the Resistance map, but I was thinking it'd be really cool because they're kind of the underground, maybe some sort of a warehouse black market, or some black market down an alley, or there's shops and stuff selling illegal goods. It's more grungy than the Megacorp would be, for sure. Implied illegal cyber activity.
Selling dead bats.
Robot bats.
I was thinking, I don't know if this is environment, but I'm thinking, I don't know if this is the boring aspect, but how our 3 lanes would be portrayed in that arena, because I feel like that would be the very consistent thing amongst every environment, is being able to tell here are 3 lanes. Sorry if you hear my dog, he's going crazy a little bit. But how whether Tim brought up Clash and and League was brought up. It's like, it's a pathway in the forest, or is it a bridge that they're coming across, or is it, you know, a field, or is it this like concrete, you know, arena? I'm just thinking, it'd be cool to understand like what that play surface, you know, is gonna look like for our players.
Just taking notes as we talk.
Seems like we may not need to be too on the nose about the lanes themselves, like too prescriptive about it. Like it's still pretty clear. You've got them 3 across from 3. You know, that's still going to be pretty evident. So we might be able to get away with, you know, setting that 3 versus 3 in an environment where, you know, maybe the environment isn't so, you know, rigidly square. It's, you know, askance. It's corner to corner. And you know, you've got debris and stuff in between. Like you were talking about an office environment getting trashed. You know, maybe there's remnants of cubicles destroyed in between, you know, paper strewn about, maybe even still flying through the air. Just, you know, things that give it characteristic and life, and that 3 versus 3 will come across just based on the placement of the characters.
Yeah, and I think eventually when we hire our environment artists, they'll I mean, that'll be their thing, is to figure out the composition, the layout, and play with that. And really, obviously they'll have the opportunity to kind of bring that expertise into shaping what it looks like. So we don't necessarily have to be too prescriptive about what the layout is going to be at this point. That'll be their contribution.
So would you say like maybe the DJ would be like in a nightclub, like a Vegas nightclub, and you know there could be all that jazz going on type of thing?
I think I see personally. I see the DJ in more of not necessarily a nightclub, because he's more big arena style. I think he's like more rave style. I feel like I see him more in a rave kind of setting. The nightclub I feel is more gang hideout front for illegal activities, you know. But and you know the nightclub is a good relatable settling to the cyberpunk genre as well.
I think the nightclub could be really cool. Like it could be a bunch of people like spread out, and you know they're in the center. Like, oh, there's going to be like a dance battle going on, kind of, you know, circling around them. Or maybe it's totally trashed and all the people are gone and they're on the dance floor, and you know there's a bunch of speakers on the ground, and you know, the lights are still kind of flickering. You know, there's a lot that could be done with that kind of a setting.
Like a Burning Man-ish kind of a setting.
Yeah, I mean that would be if we decided to go the route of having a unique one per character, right?
Who would the Burning Man kind of setting be? Would that be kind of like the Trash Mesa? There's a Burning Man installation in the Trash Mesa, erected out of garbage.
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Am I the only one who's having trouble following his logic here?
I
It
don't
would just
know.
be in the middle of nowhere, right?
I don't know what
Yeah.
Burning Man is, so I'm trying to just keep silent. What is Burning Man? I'm just gonna ask the dumb question.
It's,
They go out in the desert and they burn a man.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Oh.
It's like a
Everybody-
big sculpture. I think,
It's
right?
it's a
Music
ridiculous
festival.
excuse for people to be trendy and do a lot of drugs in the desert.
I don't know. Well, I mean, the DJ could be there resuscitating people, like Tim said, I guess.
I can see
Yeah.
the DJ
I
being
can
there.
Flag doctor there.
I think the DJ takes too many showers to be a Burning Man.
Yeah, he's too clean.
He's like the, what is that? Electric Daisy Carnival or whatever.
EDC.
EDC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where this where the markswoman would be. Is it like in the police station or something?
Yeah.
Like a cyber trench somewhere. There's bombs
Rooftop.
going off in the background.
Mm.
Ooh,
Rooftop.
That'd be cool.
You got the big ass sniper rifle.
She's gonna have a high position. That's a good point. Yeah.
Skyscraper city line type
Yeah.
thing.
That's really cool.
I think that'd be cool to have. I don't know, just going on that idea of having one per character, like gives a lot of opportunity to tell a story.
It's way more ambitious than the factions, but I really love that idea. I think that would be so cool. Because we have very little visually to tell stories with, so we're not coming out and saying this is their story. We have to show people.
Why not both?
Definitely both.
Like
Yep.
it just because it's, you know, you could have, you know, environments that are setting the story for individual characters, environments that are setting the theme for the factions, environments that are just setting the theme for the world.
Eventually, the question's going to be, what's the first one we go with? What's the one that is going to be the most representative? That is, you know, not so on. We don't want it to be on the nose, but we want it to be the one that represents the theme, represents our game, our brand. Is a little unexpected, so it's not like, you know, the obvious rain-soaked city street. Like, that's, for me, that's the one that obviously comes to mind first. But that's the problem with it. That's the first one that comes to mind. Like, maybe we can do something a little more, and maybe do something for that is a little more unexpected. What makes it interesting?
I think a twist of City Street might not actually be a good starting point, because having something be recognizable, I think, would help players. And Smash Brothers kind of does a similar thing where, you know, they got their like battlefield where it's like Smash Brothers themed. It's not specific to any one game, and then they've got a ton of different games that have different themes. So we could kind of take an approach where we have a general one like that, and then each character and Syndicate has their own.
Okay, so if we start with the City Street thought starter, so again, you know, like we're feels like we're very far into the future. We're not near future, not with the kind of technology and science fiction we're showing. So, what's unique about the streets in the future? What's incredibly advanced and what's maybe woefully regressed? You know, is there something special about the streets in the future? Do we still use concrete for streets? If we're not using tires that roll on streets anymore in, I don't know, 200
Yeah.
years or whatever it is.
Maybe there's no streets. There's just alleyways.
There's no
that
streets
people
where
walk
we're
on.
going. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking like into the
Lots of
future.
examples.
Think about too how woefully slow, you know, we are to update infrastructure in general.
Yeah, everything else but infrastructure.
Yeah. Social programs get more money than infrastructure, you know, all these things. It seems pretty likely that, you know, we would still have streets. They just might be littered with, you know, vending stalls and,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, that's so
Well,
interesting.
even now, we have, Sean's right with, you know, think about a road. That road is always being worked on forever until the end of time. So it's a similar thing where we've got amazing self-driving Teslas driving down these roads that are just like decades behind the times. So that makes a lot of sense to me, where the people and the stuff added to it would probably be way more advanced, but the roads themselves might be kind of crappy in comparison.
Yeah, that'd be kind of funny. It's like why would they take care of roads if nobody's using them, type of thing. There's a Caltrans signs like finished in 89 years.
Well, that's why-
So basically the same signs we have now, right?
Yeah.
Actually, you can buy, you know how you adopt a highway, you can buy a piece of road, but that's your property, that's where you live. So you put up a tent on a piece of road. So roads aren't used for cars anymore, they're used for lodging.
Oh,
So
jeez.
LA.
Yeah.
Maybe
Skid
you
Row.
played Death Stranding.
Mm-mm.
Haven't.
Well, you can like it's like got this kind of quasi online where you can like use roads other players have built in order to get around faster, and like they're always kind of evaporating into the sky like a black cloud. And that's just kind of how I imagine the roads. Well, even the current roads are kind of like that, where they're constantly disintegrating. They're never done.
I think too, like, you know, maybe 200 years from now, people might still be driving, you know, rubber-tired cars, simply because it's cheaper than owning something that flies, or
Right.
you're thinking about. It's like there's still a place for that guy hauling a broken off back end as a wagon, and
Yeah.
broken off back end of a pickup truck as a wagon.
Interesting. At some point in the future, the high-end Teslas today are going to be the junk cars. So maybe like there are junk cars in the street. They're Teslas or some other kind of electric-driven car. All the wealthy people have hover cars.
It's interesting too. Did you guys ever see the new Star Trek movies? I'm not a big Star Trek fan.
Mhm.
I watched the movies that came out like 10 years ago, maybe a
Oh,
little more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they're in one, the young captain, was it Captain Kirk or whatever,
Yeah.
driving a like 65 Mustang or something down the road,
Right.
like, and
Still classic.
this is supposed to be like what 200 years in the future, and there were still roads to drive it on.
That's true, man. There's definitely going to be people who are into vintage collectibles. People like collectibles. So some people would hang on to those cars.
Figure too, like thousands and thousands of years we've had roads, and yeah, they've changed, but they haven't changed that much. It's still some form of stone, paving over, to make it more durable.
Yeah, I think if anything in the future, maybe what we'd have is like things that assist the AI. So maybe how they put they paint the lane markers down. Maybe it'd be some sort of new ink or adhesive that helps with zoning and keeping people in their lanes.
Maybe it's
It's like
digital.
QR codes.
Yeah, exactly. Was
Like
that
it's like digital. It could like change dynamically. Maybe it's like
Cool.
it could be like, oh, it's used for this, and then it completely changes because it's whatever nano concrete bots or whatever. That's one thing that I saw in the video of I think it was a trailer or something, but everything on the ground. It might have been an old Will Smith movie, but like it was just the road. It wasn't just a direction. It was used like dynamically.
What, did it have like advertising on it? Like it was broadcasting images?
No, I think it was iRobot. I don't know. I think it was a Will Smith thing, but the roads were just, it wasn't like a traditional road. They just it was like a surface, and they could go on walls, and like it was just all crazy.
What's interesting about it too is like, think about, sometimes they have to shut down a lane. So, instead of having to like cone it off or repaint the lanes, just flip a switch and change the display.
Yeah. Or it's like they shut off the power to it, so your car can't even operate over it. They can regulate your speed with the emitters in the concrete. Slows
Maybe
everybody down
that's-
automatically.
Maybe that's
That's a
what
rabbit
it
hole.
is. It's like a section of the road, the highway that's been shut off, and there's a bunch of signs, LED signs like "Don't drive here," and that's where we're gonna battle because no one's driving here right now.
It's like the racing, like the street racing, where they like block off the roads and do street racing at night. This is their battle lane.
So
Yeah.
that's a good question. Is this in a megacore district? Is it in the Syndicate district? Is it in the Resistance area? Where is this taking place? This arena.
I think it should have elements of all of them if this is going to be kind of more representative of the game. Like maybe there's some grungy parts, or maybe like in the distance you see like a really fancy shiny skyline of like clearly the megacore, or things like that.
Maybe it's like an overpass, dilapidated, broken down, so you can see the skyline in the distance. Yeah, like this overpass coming up, just crumbled away, and then there's like the skyline all the way around.
Yeah, that's pretty. And then below it you could see the shantytown area.
Yeah, I think some sort of backdrop that shows that there are going to be other places to fight. Like, this isn't it. We fight everywhere. And also, too, what I'd say is, like, I don't think that... I'm kind of with Savannah on the first map, or first, whatever we're calling it, backdrop, that I don't think it needs to be super unique. Like, it should make sense, like, when a player gets in, they understand, okay, I get the theme, I get the vibe. We're on the streets. I don't know exactly what we're fighting for yet, but I understand that we're in this dystopian sci-fi fantasy world and we're fighting on the streets. Okay, what's next? And then we can kind of walk them along on that story.
Here's a what if. What if instead of being outside where we've got all this we got to show too many different possibilities. It's a checkpoint. You're battling inside of a checkpoint, someplace that you're passing through. It implies a change in districts. It implies dystopian. There's like clear government style signs, blockades, things that are keeping you kind of contained. There's a potential there for your lanes if you really want to get on the nose about it. But just very oppressive, tight space that suggests that dystopian sci-fi world.
A checkpoint in the middle of the city type of thing.
Yeah, like you may not even see that you're in the middle of the city. It's just literally imagine the spot where you have to go into in Papers, Please to pass from one section of the city to the other. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So you
Kind of.
Yeah, totally. So you could even show, like, on one side you could show it's like the border of, Mexico and California. Like, you could show the differences in those two sides. That'd be kind of crazy.
I feel like it might be hard to show that in just the arena. I like the idea of a checkpoint juxtaposed with a city street, because then it's like, whoa, that doesn't go there. But if you have a checkpoint that goes like on a border and it kind of feels like a border, then it feels like I'm fighting on the border to locations, so it doesn't feel quite as incongruous.
Isn't that what a checkpoint is?
What do you mean?
It's always on the border.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like, that's what I mean. Like a checkpoint where I wouldn't expect a checkpoint would feel more oppressive to me.
I don't know how you would have a checkpoint. I'm having a hard time following that.
I'm thinking like Last of Us. If you played that recently.
Are you thinking like a DUI stop point, where it's like in the middle of the road kind of thing, and like
kind of. But imagine they erect like barriers too, and they're fencing people off, and they're fencing like people
Right.
within the town off. You know what I mean? So maybe there's even like barbed wire, sandbags, like military installation in the middle of a city street. So it's cordoning
right.
off.
So just picture this being more permanent. Like you if you're going from one side of the street to the other, from Starbucks on the south side of the street to Starbucks on the north side of the street, you got to pass through this checkpoint every freaking time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's yeah. That's cool.
Do you
Just-
guys think the? No, I was just thinking then in the background when Sean was talking about barriers and certain elements. Do you think those would have, you know, an influence on the like playable environment? I guess like, you know, I dodge an ability and it fires off. Would it like blow up a vending machine, or would it just kind of everything just be there?
That would be really cool. It'd
That would be
if there
cool.
were a couple interactable objects, like on on specific maps. On one side of the lane, there's a vending machine, and you get to blow it up once per map if you use a certain ability. I don't know, some like little things that Easter egg territory for sure. But interactables, I think, in the map are really exciting like that. Plus, it'd be like, oh, we gotta blow up the vending machine, guys. Use the ability on me.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it could even just be like you don't have to cast an ability on it. It could just be something that you touch with your finger, and it like reacts somehow. Who was it that showed? Was it Steven? Did you show some game? Or someone showed something? It was a while ago. That
Hearthstone does that.
Yeah.
So
where
while
you
you're waiting on
interact
your
with-
turn, you could like touch the fountain and different things.
and
and
it
they-
yeah, and it just there's just animations and
Right.
VFX. Yeah.
That's cool, but I love the idea of like if you hit somebody on the outside lane, there's something that's on that side that reacts, like a digital
Yeah.
display that freaks out.
Shows that splash damage maybe is affecting the environment. It's splashing out.
Yeah, I
I
think
did-
that'd be cool. Like if it was like
Yeah.
if you had a bunch of like LED screens that splash damage, now they're all broken instead of showing whatever advertisement or thing they were showing before.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Yeah,
Even things in the middle that get destroyed just as you play get progressively more and more damaged. Could be
Right,
really
'cause
good.
If you dodge an ability, technically that ability keeps going, right? So you should hit whatever's behind you.
Well, I mean, no, because remember
Yeah.
our abilities always hit the location.
Oh, that's right. It doesn't. That was
Yeah.
instead. It just kept traveling.
That was the old days.
That was the old days,
yeah.
yeah.
And it was a timing issue. It was a timing issue that was it looked terrible to try and fix that. It ended up looking god awful to try and match that. But getting the if it hits the location, that explodes and you can do damage to the other things. But if there's stuff in between as something is traveling, let's go back to the office for a minute. If there's a cubicle there, you smash through it on the way to wreck the other person. You got splinters of stuff flying around. It just adds life and feeling.
Like a Roomba that's trying to clean the street and you blow it up.
There was one of the old Star Wars games would have these the little mouse droids that would run around and you'd shoot them and they'd blow up and
It's like the chickens in CS:GO.
exactly. They're fun little things to just have happen.
The suitcases. Let's just go.
Do those blow up?
Yeah, you shoot them and then it moves.
Never
Oh,
know.
they they just move. They don't
Yeah, the
shoot out money or
baggage-
anything.
The baggage claim area. Yeah.
Nice.
Literally
never
never
tried
noticed that.
There's a soccer ball in one of the maps too. You shoot it around.
Yeah, I found that. There's a bell in one of the maps I found. Yeah. But I find stuff like that fun. Like,
Yeah.
you guys have been playing Ghost. I know some of you have been playing Ghost Tsushima, and just the environmental movement in that
Mhm.
game makes what are otherwise pretty still scenes really vibrant. Having that movement, man, it's crazy. Kurosawa right there.
Yeah, dude, the whole combat in that game is like, it just flows so well. I don't normally I get bored of combat, like that kind of combat in games pretty quickly, but I don't know, I'm still liking it. It's still making me want to play it. I'm like doing side missions and stuff, which I never do in those games.
Wow,
I'm done. I keep going back to it.
Yeah, it's fun.
I can't wait. How many hours did you put into it, Sean?
Not a lot. It's not a terribly long game.
It isn't. No.
No.
It will be for you, Mario, because you want to do everything.
Yeah,
there's a
I'm
lot of side
terrible.
missions.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, whoever made Last of Us, like Last of Us 2, the environment artist should feel happy that I saw every piece of art in that game. I literally took the time to go into every closet, under every counter. I just spied everywhere. It was just the best.
Did you plastic wrap it when you were done?
I was sad when it was over. So,
Hey guys, so
Just make a 3D map of the 3D map.
just one of the items on here was time of day, so I just wanted to discuss that. Yeah, I figured it would be dusk or a dark aspect to it. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Night, so we can have the gamer RGB lights on all the time.
Oh yeah,
But probably some variety in like some of the other maps. And some of them, like we've been talking about, will be inside too. But
right.
Kind of a golden hour look would be probably the most visually appealing. So if we're using it for promotional, images and stuff.
Yeah, I like the evening sunset, even like a nighttime with like lighting that could be, flickering. I think that was mentioned before. Like that'd be a cool interactable where like that blows up and it's dark.
yeah, the darker obviously is going to help to make the neon stuff and the displays pop more. It'll make
Yeah,
more
the
sense than if it's high noon. Yeah.
I think
So that-
evening is like a pretty good time of day for it though, because that's like when all the streetlights are coming on and bright,
Right.
but they're not the only source of light in the scene.
Yeah.
Right, it's the ads and the stalls. They all give into the light as well.
Yeah, and we have those. Remember, we had those prototype backgrounds that we were looking at, and the night shots versus the day shots obviously pop so much better. They're so much more, I don't know, just mysterious and compelling. They're just because they're lit up. It's like everybody likes to stare at a Christmas tree because of the lights. It's like staring at fireworks, candy for the eyes.
Right.
What else did we have? Time of day, mood. How would you describe that mood? So it's kind of like so you're showing the dilapidation, you're showing the conflict, the tension in the backdrop of what's been there. So it's like it's oppressive in the sense that it's like that checkpoint. And it's dramatic in the sense that you see the damage that's been here and the conflict that's been here. So as much as we can reflect the themes of the game in it, the better. Like the oppressive nature of it, the proliferation of technology, where that line is between natural and cybernetic,
We've got kind of an interesting task because, like we've talked about, we're not going full metal cyberpunk where it's super grungy and, dingy. So we got to show all this conflict in the world while at the same time keeping it kind of relatively upbeat and like superhero-y at the same time.
Yeah. It's like if we were like one of those superhero films, it would be more like the Marvel Cinematic Universe than like, let's say, the DC Justice League, which is much more darker and serious. And you have the Marvel series that, juxtaposes the drama and the action with lighthearted comedy and, optimism.
That's a great example. Marvel, I think, is a really good one to look at.
So as far as like what this backdrop communicates with regards to those factions, we can. I feel like because it's Chetmo, we can give some of that resistance element. What about the Syndicate and the Megacore? How do they factor in? Maybe the Megacore is what has erected these checkpoints to reference. You know what I mean? Like
The Megacore is the the rich, right? Corporate, live in big buildings,
Yeah. So
high
imagine
rise.
like. Mhm.
Why don't we
maybe
just show the high-rise buildings in the backdrop? Like, it doesn't have to. We don't have to spell it out for them. It should just be like elements of the map.
Like a
Well,
skyline.
Compromise each faction.
Like imagine a logo on one of the sandbags, for example, or on one of the iron gates has one of the Megacore logo, like Aeon Tech, or you know what I mean? You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's subtly put in there. It's not really on the nose. But,
I think it would have to be pretty big sandbag, because on a mobile screen would be like
Maybe like LED billboards, probably where that sort of thing could fit in really well.
Yeah,
Or just even
billboards.
like a simple
Yeah.
logo showing on a sign. There's
Or, yeah,
definitely ways to talk about like there are rich people over there.
It could be on a skyrise. Just it's just like the company names on the building.
What do you guys think of the idea of, Megacore, they're the big boss and they built everything, but then the Resistance and the Syndicate have kind of started to reclaim some parts of the world that are, not as maintained, and, they can move in on their territory a bit, and that's like their land.
I think that's perfect because, one of the things we talked about doing, if down the road, is doing that faction battle. So it's like you're taking control of the street. So if one day we want to do territory, like turf wars kind of deal, then that would make sense. Like you might have Megacore, but then our clan has taken over some of the Megacore area. Now it's Syndicate. You know what I mean? So it's like that turf war aspect could be an interesting thing for the metagame. So that would be cool. Yeah. Those are the kinds of things. So when it gets down to the specific elements of that, that's where we can unleash the environment artist on putting together some concepts to draw all that up, and do a concept first, and then we see if all those notes are hidden before we actually build.
I think that's going to help a lot too. Once we have that first concept, being able to see,
Yeah.
it's going to help us kind of ideate on that a little bit more.
Yeah, we just have to give high-level direction on, where is it, what are the beats, what are the important symbols of year, time of day, ambience, and then unleash them on that.
Could Megacore be like a floating city as well? I forgot what movie it was, but it was all the plebs were
Oh.
living on Earth, and then
Alita, Battle Angel. And I think they had that in Carbon.
Altered
Altered
Carbon.
Carbon.
Altered
yeah.
Carbon. Yep.
Let's say Carbon Dioxide. Yeah.
there's one with Matt Damon.
Elysium.
Elysium or something.
Yeah. There's there's a lot of movies like that. I think District 9 was like that, right?
There's always the kind of theme of the have and have not,
Yeah.
and how that plays in. When you look at the what typically governments build, and leaning towards brutalist architecture and things that are very austere and very relatively inexpensive. Cement, concrete is relatively inexpensive building material. Low rise, things like that. You've got these durable, almost abandonable buildings all around. That's typically where you see the flood of people living in lean-tos up against these kinds of permanent structures. But then you've got these huge ivory towers of megacores in these films, whether they're it's the Airy in Altered Carbon, or Elysium, or the outside of the district in was it District 9 or whatever it was. You've got these real separation. So finding ways, it makes sense to have things like barriers
Yeah.
between those. how do you keep that? How do you show that? How do you demonstrate that?
Yeah, that was one of my when you said the checkpoint. I think that was one of like the big things in Elysium. I remember it's like he had to go through a checkpoint to even get into that like pristine area. I think that's cool.
Usually you have to go through some sort of checkpoint. Like there was a great show. It was very short-lived called like Incorporated or something like that. And it was all about this dude that was living inside this like idyllic, perfect world, and it turns out that just outside the hologram was this just desolate slum of a world. Just it's all about the illusion of perfection for the people who have, and this terrible grinding reality for the people who don't.
So,
Sounds like the Truman Show.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're at 2:00 now, so we're at time. But it sounds like we have the high level points here. So we got the time of day, night, show off all the technology, the lights, the displays, digital displays, some sort of checkpoint themed arena that shows the contrast between, let's say, a more upscale side and a more downscale side, lower scale side. Backdrop that shows off the rest of the world, so like Megacore in the background, maybe there's a floating city, but we definitely can have those spires, that golden city, and other elements. What else did we say? Yeah, we said interactive elements in the backdrop as well, so like based on either in the terrain, like in the lanes, so it could be whether it's paper or little objects that make sense, that those can react, objects in the background that can react, take hits, interactive elements. I think those are the big points. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay.
Guys, how do you feel about this? This is your game. How do you feel about it?
I feel good about it. I feel like this is what I've always envisioned the first map being. I don't know about future maps, but I kind of like that we're going a little bit more standard, but it still kind of shows the flavor of the game and what the direction that we're going as far as the theme, But it's not too much. It's not too much where there's going to be too many questions. I think it'll make sense for a first timer.
I love the idea that we have a lot of ideas though for individual themes for other characters. So I think that'll that kind of excites me for the next ideation session.
You always love having lots of ideas. That's like that's the thing, is like I'm glad to hear that you guys are pulling it back towards something that's not infinite scope. But as far as what we've discussed, Stephen, Tim, Savannah, how do you guys feel about it?
I feel good. It's hard to not get super excited about things about telling the individual stories of the characters, but I'm a little biased on wanting to do that with the characters, I bet. So definitely looking forward to where that leads us, and like the factions and all those different maps. But as far as the one that we're starting with, I think that it's a really good, solid, this is our game. This is the general this is what we're giving you in a nutshell. And I think that it's unique, and but it's still something that people will recognize, which is, I think, really important for kind of showing everyone what the genre is going to be, or how our game fits in the genre more so. So I'm really excited to see where it goes.
I'm excited as well. More so for the individual stories, less of the overarching theme, like the Megacore and Syndicate. I think that's going to play itself out as we sort, where did the sniper, the markswoman come from? Where did the sumo come from? I think it'll be interesting to see how we can kind of pull them together.
Yeah, it's a good point, because the sniper could have been affiliated with the Megacore, the Syndicate.
Yeah, and I feel like you know, the Syndicate, the Megacorp, you know, that's kind of like a cyberpunk kind of the dilemma, you know, like we're kind of like pinpointing so that we're too focused on that, when I think the stories themselves will tell the story. The character story, the hero's story will kind of paint the picture, instead of having that overarching theme to have to come back to, okay, it's a Syndicate versus the Mega, like, you know, it's just like, it's their story's gonna tell. And I think for me that's more valuable than, you know, the other story. It's more interesting, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm most excited to play, like, to see it, and then, like, that's gonna be our game. Like, that's Generation Overdrive. I think that's what excites me the most, is that we're gonna be playing in an environment that's, you know, we came up with, that we collaborated on, and, you know, see it come to life. I think that's what's most exciting to me.
Yeah, I think it's good to keep an understanding too of how much work is needed to build out 6 maps or backdrops. We don't really have the time for that for soft launch, so we'd have to talk about that. But I think starting with this, it's a good base point, right? And then we can move from there and kind of discuss. And if we do decide that down the road, then we just, you know, we go down that avenue. But like Sean said, I think it's okay to have both, and it's okay to start with this as like this is a great starting point.
8.
Yeah, it would be.
Well, it would be 1 per character, right? Oh, did I say 6?
Yeah.
8. Sorry. I'm looking at the screenshot, so I'm thinking. But yeah.
I think as long as we're keeping the most important, you know, the most important factor is this going to be sufficient? Is this going to be comfortable for a player to pop into and not feel like I have to understand this whole world straight out? You know, you know, if we only have, you know, 1 or 2 maps to begin with at this early stage, is it better to go generic and give, you know, some kind of glimpse of this world setting, rather than say, you know, okay, we're going to pick these 2 characters and build out maps surrounding them, which could potentially lead to confusion for the players that don't pick those characters.
Big time. Yeah, if like, for example, worst, like, one extreme example is we do the rave party. You know, people play the game and that's the only map. They think, oh, is this game about raves? Or is this game about what's this game about?
It seems like it would be a weird association.
Right.
Let's fight.
Yeah. It's the music game. You wanna play that music game?
Yeah, I mean, the focus really is the player, and so that the player understands how to play the game. And so, you know, we don't want to distract them with some weird map, and we want to focus on what the gameplay is. So that's the most important thing to me, is make sure that the game is fun. And the map, I mean, the map will come, the maps will come, but the gameplay needs to be fun. It needs to attract people back. I mean, I think of League, they have 1 map, they still have 1 map. They keep changing it, but it started off super duper basic, and they've made obviously tons of changes, but it's still 1 map. You know, obviously a different game, but it's not the core game is not about the map. The core game is about the gameplay and how fun the game is, how competitive it is.
That's true here too. The bigger issue, the environment should be like sprinkles. It should be like a nice little addition. Doesn't really necessarily add anything, but it's nice to have them there. You know,
Yep.
If we put it on a, you know, gray box stage, is
Still be
the battle still fun? If it is, then we're doing the right thing. If it's not, then no amount of good, you know, environment design is going to fix that.
Right.
Yeah, and then new backdrop is something that we can do with updates, with the evolution, to keep things new and fresh, put a new paint job on things.
Yeah. And variety is nice when you're playing, you know, a bunch of these matches. But you know, I'm gonna be honest. I still look at this as the pooping game.
The pooping.
It's the pooping game. It's that like 5 minutes that you know it takes to play a match. Yeah, you know what? You laugh, but that's untapped market potential right there.
I never called it playing a match. I always lose.
I gotta go play a match. I'll be right back. But you know, seriously, because you know that's you know you wanna fit a product to you know something that's natural. There you go. 5 minutes.
It's organic. It's an organic type of game.
Always have your phone with you.
That's it.
Cool. So Mario, you think you have all the info you need for,
Yeah,
for,
I
for
think
now at
we're
least?
good.
Yeah.
I think we're really good. Awesome.
All right. Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right. Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, everybody.
Good to see you.
Chat soon.
Thanks,
Ciao.
guys.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.